I was born in 1946, raised in Northeast Texas. My mama was from Texas and my daddy was from Minnesota. I was raised in a southern culture where the men were respected as the head of the household and the woman raised the family and took care of the home. There were 9 children in our family. I was number 2 with a brother that was number 1. I remember my growing up years as helping my mother take care of the younger children and helping take care of the home. My mom was a strong woman who loved her husband. Daddy was a bricklayer and worked away from home most of the time. Before he arrived home for the weekend, she ensured that all the children in home were clean for his arrival. She wanted him to enjoy the weekends. I thought this was normal, and I have no problem today if women decide to stay home. At age 19, I enlisted in the United States Air Force. I had no trouble with this lifestyle because I had had discipline and knew how to wash clothes, polish my shoes, etc. Over my 5 years plus of service, I worked mostly with men and didn't notice too much difference in my work environment until I got promoted to management. Working at the post office, the Good Old Boy Network was healthy and strong. When I started in 1982, there were very few women in the post office, and everything was based on seniority, which was how you got a particular job. It didn't make any difference if you were a man or a woman. If a person was qualified and had the most seniority, they got the job. Example. Early on in my career, there was a job in the office that required typing, which most of the guys didn't have. As I recall, there were 3 of us who took the typing test, and I scored the highest, and even though I didn't have much seniority, I got the job. When I started with the post office, I got involved in the union. I was a steward, and ended up being the president of our local and the state organization. As more women started to come into the workforce, the work climate changed. It was difficult for some of the men to accept that women could do the same job as them. But it was also difficult for the women to realize that they were hired to do the same job as a man. Conflict was common and also disruptive to the work environment. Being a union officer required filling grievances between management and labor for the mistreatment of women. I mean, at least we had that, which is something that most organizations didn't. With FEMA, there were a lot more women than me doing community relationships. There were conflicts between men and women, mostly taken care of by meetings with management, where both sides were given the opportunity to voice their concerns and the situation was taken care of. It was much less formal than the grievances process.
So, what was it like when I was growing up in a small Midwest town in the 80s versus 41-year-old lady living in Kentucky? Nova telling me that I've got to help out with this project is hurting my brain because I can't remember what I ate yesterday, much less what I was like as a child in the 80s and in big specific moments of what it was like being a female then versus now. I can tell you that being in the military and the years in business and the position that I'm in currently right now where I work is that not much has changed, I think, from when I was a kid to now. Yes, women are in higher positions, but we still look like bald. I mean, it was very light growing up. I mean, we didn't have the constant bombarding of news and always in your face. I mean, we're doing this interview and there was just a school shooting in Florida, I mean, the biggest thing that I can remember as a kid was Columbine, and even then it was so far away and not even close for you to even think that it was a thing, that we were just really being able to be kids, man. We got in our car and took mains and hung out with our friends and went to work and see if we could get some booze at some point from somebody and go party in the cornfields or whatever it was for me. No, I mean, I don't remember it being a thing about being a girl or that it was unfair, like I didn't get the same opportunities as the boys. I mean, the mentality in the Midwest when I grew up was you could be a nurse or you could be an accountant or you could, stay at home or whatever. I mean, there wasn't a lot of people saying, geez, you could do whatever you want. You put your mind to it and you could be anything. It was, very small thinking, but it wasn't necessarily gender related, I guess. I mean, there wasn't this expectation when I grew up, thank goodness, with my mother, who was such a career woman and was previous military and grew up the way that she did, that there was not this expectation growing up that, well, you just need to get married and have some kids and you don't need college. Who needs college? It was when I grew up, it was, yeah, you could be whatever you wanted to be, but in this very small bubble of the town that I grew up in, so, but, the gender roles in my house growing up was my dad did the cooking and we did the cleaning, and my mom worked a lot of overtime, and she was the major breadwinner for both of their careers. And dad was very, very respectful of that, and made it clear that mom worked hard and was grateful for it, and allowed them to do the things that they wanted to do financially. So me, when that probably messed me up, I suppose, dating as I got older, and dating guys, and they didn't know how to fry an egg. I didn't know what was going on. I learned how to cook from my dad, bake from my dad. So I think I definitely was lucky in that way.
What about any last words?
Serious is just too serious. And what I would really, really like is for you all to go back to being less stressed, and don't take the burden of the world and the social issues. Not that it's not important, and not that it's not important to discuss and have an open dialogue, but don't let it bug you out. Don't let it make you catatonic, or the whole world is ending. There's so much more positive stuff that's going on in the world. Focus on that if you can. And the only thing that's going to make the change is you guys. It's not going to be anybody else. So if you're that passionate about it and you're ready to do something, that's what you need to do. I mean, everybody can talk about making change, but until you actually do it and make those changes in your everyday life, when those situations arise, nothing is ever going to change.